Can I change gears? I have some friends in London I was just with, and they have shocking hate of the Arab immigrants in their city, of which there are tens of thousands apparently. And that's one of the reasons they want to secede from the European Union, to stop the inflow. And their contention is, and I think Britain partly encourages it, these people do not integrate. That they keep their culture, they keep their language, they keep their religion, and they want to impose Sharia law. That's their contention. Now, it seems to me that most of the waves of immigrants in the US did the same thing initially. I know my family did. My uncle failed school because he didn't speak English. You know, things like this happen, it seems, with waves, but I don't know. Is this a transitional phase, say in London, or is this going to be a permanent fractionation, or what do you think?
You know, I think the world has changed dramatically. We are globalized now. People don't come to the United States and change. We don't expect, well, we kind of expect that, but expect, you know, we don't force them now to speak English, and like they used to send social workers to houses and tell them you can't dress like this, you can't do this. The world has changed. People do not melt into the dominant culture anymore. They don't do it anywhere. So if you don't like people with headscarves in your neighborhood, then maybe you're in the wrong neighborhood, because that's the way it is.
Well,
The Sharia, let me just finish on the Sharia law thing, which is a totally socially constructed phenomenon that, so anybody who starts talking Sharia law, I know they've already been influenced by, I mean, you know, I've lived in Muslim majority cultures quite a bit. I never heard anybody talk about Sharia law. Sharia law is like civil law that applies to things like inheritance and families, and in most countries, except Saudi Arabia, the excessive demon, excuse me for saying that, I'm not very fond of that country. The criminal law is, you know, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, what do you call it? There's like a criminal law that is unrelated to the Holy Book. In Israel, it's Jewish law, it's the Torah that applies, right? So for family, and so it's family and inheritance law. It's not this big boogeyman about, you know, we're going to cut off people's hands and all that. That's totally manufactured idea. The idea that in England, I believe they allow people, like in cases of divorce, to use their religious code, which actually, frankly, gives women more rights than they have in this country in the case of divorce, because they get a certain financial settlement that was agreed upon before the marriage. So, you know, I can send you a reading on Sharia law and how that whole notion is constructed. But yeah, that's what I'm saying about Europe, and I include Great Britain there, that those attitudes are highly negative. And, you know, the more, here's what we do know about human beings. The more you exclude and treat them bad, the more they're going to hold on to what gives them dignity. We know that about human beings everywhere. So those attitudes create, why would I want to be part of, disband everything that I feel comfortable with? Why would I want to get rid of that to be part of you who hate me? People, that's not how human beings behave. So the ideas behind all that are just flawed.
Do need to wrap it up, so Ed, I'll give you last response.
That's fine. After the Civil War, you had a lot of people saying, well, you know, these former slaves, we have to send them to Africa because they can't assimilate, they'll stay by themselves, they won't become part of our nation. And then you had a wave of Irish immigration. People said these Irish, they're all drunk and they have low mental capacity and they won't assimilate, they won't learn how to work hard. And so we should not let in Irish. And Then you had the Jews and the Italians and Eastern Europeans come in. It was like, oh my God, the Italians, they're all Catholic and they'll do whatever the Pope says and they won't be real Americans. And the Jews, well, we all know we have to keep them out because they're going to stay on their own and speak their own language and worship in their own synagogues, and so they'll never assimilate. And then, we have the Latin Americans and the Mexicans coming in, and it's the same story. Every wave is, and what happens? They all assimilate. They all become Americans. When I first moved to Wisconsin, there was a bill in the state legislature, English only. That was the big thing. And the fear was, well, you gotta have English only because these immigrants, their kids are gonna grow up only speaking Spanish. And I went and I testified against the bill, and I said, what are you talking about? My mother was from Mexico. I grew up speaking a handful of Spanish words. And I'm begging my kids to learn Spanish. They have no interest. I said, you should have a Spanish-only bill. Because every Mexican I know complains their kids don't speak Spanish anymore. The assimilation force is very, very strong.
Right, or Renato Rizaldo, who says, we force children of immigrants to be monolingual, and then we send them to college to become bilingual. There's something wrong with this scenario.
Folks, let's thank Ed and Louise so much for that.